Welcome to my daily review. Today is Monday, July the 7th. Hope you all had a great 4th of July 3-day holiday. Actually, 3.5 days for the stock market. And you're taking a look at a daily chart of the Nasdaq, which pulled back, a little under 1%. All of the indexes pulled back a little less than 1% today, and it is much needed for us to have a sustainable longer term rally. We need a pullback. You're looking at the Nasdaq here down 188 points, 0.92%, close at 20,412 on 9% below the 50-day average volume. But you could see right here, it's still 6.9% above its 50. It's still a little overheated. If it just wants to trade sideways for a few days, maybe for the week, just come back close to the 10, up and down, just come sideways, catch up to the 10, and then maybe we can get a little bit of a spurt here later on this week. What happens during, a pullback, a couple things we don't know how low it's going to go. We don't know where it's going to find support, and we don't know where it's going to bounce. So I just take a look at the leading stocks and see what they're doing. And I'm going to get to that here in a minute. I guess I'll go to the S&P 500. Same type of deal here. It was down. The Nasdaq was down 0.92. The S&P was 0.79. Still well above it's 10 EMA here, 1% above the 10 and 5.5% above the 50. We have the golden cross where the 50 is traded through the 200, and it's all trending in the right direction. It's just you don't want the market to get overheated and have it, really melt up and go straight up vertical, because what happens then is it comes down vertical, and we already experienced that, and it's not very pleasant. So just a little bit of relieving of the pressure, a little bit of selling, that's okay. It's not going to hurt anything. Like I say, you just look at your stocks, whatever you're holding, they should be leading stocks, and they should find support at a moving average. This is the IWM, and then the Dow Jones. Yeah, this is down 1.5%. The Dow Jones is down 0.94%. So, yeah, still well above the moving averages. This one has not had your golden cross where the 50 trades through the 200 yet. And I guess I will go back to the Russell here since it was down 1.5%. So a little bit of risk off here. It's still, healthy. You can see the shorter term moving averages traded through the 200, and this one's way behind the other indexes. So, yeah. All right. That's enough for the indexes. I got to get to stocks because I like to trade stocks, not indexes. And the pressure, a lot of the pressure from the S&P and the Nasdaq came from Tesla today. This is down nearly 7%. It just gapped down at the open and stayed there. There you can see there's your gap from the prior session. Maybe I should go back, give us a little more time reference. Yeah. Yeah, there's a gap down a couple days ago and big gap down today. And it just stayed there all day. So, yeah, 7% to the downside for Tesla. Obviously, the CEO is, getting deeper into the political arena, and the shareholders don't like that. And anyway, I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't think this is a buy below the 200, below all its moving averages. The RS line's heading south. If you take a look at the weekly chart, yeah, it's 40% off of its high. There's nothing really good here to say about Tesla. Big red numbers here, no growth. I know it's not a car company anymore, it's a robot and energy company, but yeah, yeah, I don't think that's, a situation where you say, oh, it's down 7%, I'm getting a deal. No, it could go much lower. So this is just an avoid for me. Sorry. Google, another stock today in this, Mag 7 that moves the needle here, down 1.5%, while the Nasdaq was down less than one. So it's doing a little worse than the index. Microsoft flat on this session. Apple, down 1.6%, so a little more than the index. Meta had a decent day today, and then it was flat. And then Amazon. Meta just pulled back to its 10. Amazon's well above its 10. They have Prime Day this week. it was flat on this session. Then NVIDIA, always in the news, NVIDIA, but it's still, even though it pulled back, I don't know, 2/3%, it's still well above its 10 EMA, 2.4% above the 10. So still looking healthy. And you got to look at the weekly if you're considering entering this thing. Yeah, inside from last week. NVIDIA looks fine. One of the stronger Mag 7 names. All right, I'm going to move on. We had a lot of news this morning, and it started with I guess it was, where am I going to go here? There was a lot of buyouts, and then we had the trial from the biotech drug RTL Biosciences up 42% on trial news. It had this big move on the 30th, pull back a little bit, and then today more news, and it closed near the lows of the session. Let's take a look at the 5-minute. Yeah, gapped up at the open, sold off all day on that news. I saw it when I saw it, it was up like 28 bucks. Now it closed at 14. Anyway, you're still going to take a 42% gain, right? A couple of other deals today. Sandstorm Gold was bought by Royal Gold, and it was up 6% premium, not bad. And then WNS was bought out by Cap Gemini, another deal that was announced this morning, a 14% premium for WNS Holdings. And then the big one that a lot of people were talking about was CoreWeave bought out CORZ. And both stocks traded lower, which is kind of rare because usually, the acquiring stock gets pulled down, because they're spending money to buy a company, and the company that gets bought is typically up. But CORZ today was down 17%. You say, why is that? Man, that's a really that's a tough move for a company being bought out for 9 billion. The market cap is only 4.4 billion. The problem is CoreWeave is using stock to buy Core Scientific. And then the market's probably might be saying that they don't think CoreWeave stock is worth that much with that sell-off on Core Scientific. I hold this stock CoreWeave and I like it. It's got this high tight flag pattern, but I'm very concerned right now with the action today on the purchase of cores because cores should have been up a lot, but it was an all stock deal. And like I say, maybe the market is not valuing CoreWeave stock like we think it should. And yeah, this is very precarious for me. Still holding CoreWeave, it still looks okay, but yeah, down 3% today in the acquisition news. I'm watching this one closely, and I'm not married to anything. If it makes a move below that 21, it's adios muchachos for me. Or even below this, this is probably the low for last week, 151.26. Yeah, I'm not gonna let it go further than that. Yeah, 151.26. So anyway, just watching it, hold it, I guess you could say hoping for the best. I'm expecting a pullback in the market. I'm expecting my leading stocks to be finding support at moving averages like it did here last week at the 21. That's fine. And I'm just going to go through some stocks here today that, stocks of interest. It was a rough day, no doubt about it. For a lot of stocks, for lack of a better term, today kind of sucked. But there were some pockets of pleasure, if you will. GE Vernova, the alternative energy group, is one of the top groups. I post on the weekend the top three groups typically, and this is one of the top performing groups, one of the top three, along with the specialty metal group alloys, which is CRS, and ATI. This group is super strong. And these stocks performed well, and so did GEV and the alternative energy names. This one found support at the 21 last week, and today it just popped off at 10 EMA. This one looks fine. Closed at 530. OKLO, another one in this alternative energy group. This one undercut the 21 and the 10 and now has rallied back above both those levels. That is definitely an area of interest for me, above 56.33, which was the high today. This just looks like your classic, like a bull wedge pattern here. You could call that a pennant too. A lot of people are into these high tight flags. There's quite a few of them here. You could see that's definitely looking like, your high tide flag, much like CoreWeave that I just showed you. And then another stock in the group that this one I did have on my ready list today was LEU, kind of similar to OKLO, but it was above the 21. That's why I selected LEU instead of OKLO. This one popped 4.5%. Same type of deal with the high type flag type of action here, where it's got your pole and then it's got your 3 or 4 weeks of flagging here. And yeah, nice 4.5% pop today. We'll take that. Not bad, especially on a day like today where it's kind of rough, honestly. I'm just looking for areas of strength. I don't I don't need to go very far to look for areas of weakness. And I don't want to look at weakness. So I'm going to move on to the defensive names. I'm going to move from your Mag 7 to your deals to your energy, now to your defensive names, GE. Finding support at the 21. That's what you want to see in your leading defense, aerospace defense names. This is Leonardo, DRS is the ticker symbol. Found support last week and popped today. So that one looks good as well. What else do I have in the, oh, Rocket Lab. This is one of the beneficiaries, allegedly, of Elon getting political and maybe the new tax bill that was passed. Rocket Lab up 9% today. You could see it bounced off its 10. So that's what you want to see of these leading stocks, support at the moving averages and bouncing. You don't want to see them squatting. We want to see them bouncing. Yeah, we don't like squatters. Squatters on the fence usually get plucked off and they fall the other way. Curtis Wright, another one that pulled back to the 10, and it's just surfing its 10 here. And yeah, pop today, nearly 1%. We'll take it. It was kind of a rough day, so anything that's up is a win, right? Okay, I'm going to move over to the automobile, car, travel, transportation group. Uber is one that, I should have had this one on my ready list this week. I have it written down right here, but I didn't put it on. I don't think I put it on. I've got like 50 names here, and that's why I'm still bullish on this market because I'm seeing a lot of stock set up in bases like this. 93.60 would be your trigger. And it traded above it today. I think the close was right around 93.60. What was it? 93.63. Yeah, can't get much closer than that. Why I didn't put it on, I don't know, but I missed it. And I'm not going to chase it up here. Right now it's 5% above the 10, so let it go. Congrats if you own it. But I'm not going to chase in this market. Sorry, don't have to, not going to do it. Carvana, another one. 351.43, I'd definitely say there is your trigger point. And today it closed at 357. So just a tick above. I wouldn't say that's totally chasing, but it is chasing. It's 6.5% above the 10. So yeah, just a nice move. Still, I'd call this, another type of a base here, right? That's probably a 5 or 6 week base. And now it broke out of that. Today, how many weeks is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's enough for a base. Yeah. I say, 3 weeks tight is an add-on and 5 weeks is a base. So that's my story and I'm sticking to it. And the other one is this Avis, which is just going bonkers. Didn't even pull back to its 10 last week, found support. It came back like 2 days. That was your shot. And then it's moving higher. Still, it made that high last week. What is this? June 26th. And then pull back. That was last week, right? What was it? No, 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, 189.98. Last week, an inside week, almost like a short stroke pattern. And now it looks like it wants to move higher. This thing is just super strong name. All right, that's it for the automobiles. I got to move on. Too much to cover today. The power equipment group, some names that I don't talk about too much. This is ENVX breaking out above that 1239. Another one, if you look at it on the weekly, it just looks like this, big stage one base here, if you will. This kind of a double bottom type pattern on the weekly. And now, trying to break out of this. Still has a ways to go here. Yeah, I think that's what, like, I think it's like 1359 in that area. 13, 1298, no, 1318. Yeah. So it's right around there. I would say that would be a trigger point, except for it's extended on the daily. So you got to wait for it to calm down a little bit. But BWXT is another one. I think I mentioned this one last week, electrical power, and you can see this big cup. I've got it written down right here too, and I didn't put it on my radar list. Looks like, 3 weeks tight pattern essentially. But yeah, another one that I am watching. That one could be on our ready list any day now. And then AMSC, I know I covered this one last week. Another strong name, finding support at the moving averages and popping higher. American superconductor. So when I think of this group, I think of VRT. How did that one do today? Yeah, it's still surfing the 10, not bad. But anyway, yeah, that one still has work to do. But with earnings coming up, and this is why I think the pullback is healthy ahead of earnings, let the profit takers, get out of the way, take their profits, and we have some powerful earnings, and these things can move higher. So give it some time. All right, the software names, Palantir had a strong day today. Finding support here, now trading back above its moving averages, 1.8% above the 10. This one's still actionable. I didn't have it on my ready list this week. I had it last week and it didn't do much. I don't think. Did it? It was up 2.7%. I don't know. This is one that I like a lot. I think it's going higher. It's going to move on its, when it wants to and not when we want it to. But definitely still, consolidating near a buy point. So that one is actionable. Another software named Roblox making new highs. I think clearly finding support at the 10 and then popping 4% today, making a new high at 108. So that's gaming software that looks pretty darn good. And then Snowflake. Yeah, popping off the 10. That's what you want to see out of these leading stocks. You want to see them finding support and then bouncing. They don't have to make, 10% moves, but just, there's your day off, unfortunately. And then yeah, this thing popped and had buyers all day long. Oh, the one that went into the S&P Datadog. Okay, so it had the big move, then give some back. Okay, that's fine. Datadog was up a 15% and give back one, almost two. We'll take that ratio all day long. All right. The next group I want to get into is the cybersecurity names, and this is CrowdStrike, which was downgraded this morning. I forget which group. I think it was Citigroup downgraded it. Anyway, it just pulled back to the 10, and this thing looks like it wants to pop off the 10 here. Yeah, the low is 498, close at 405. Excuse me, 505. Yeah, still looks good to me. CrowdStrike is just a stock that people want to own. And so it's not going to go down that much. This is Rubrik still forming this base here, pulled back to the 50 for the first time since the breakout. Should have had this on my ready list again this week. I might still put it on here. Up nearly 1% today while the Nasdaq was down, but you know, forming a base here, and this has been quite a few weeks since that earnings date, the middle of June. So it's been about a month here. And yeah, if it just wants to build out the right side of that base, I'm all for it. Rubrik. Yeah, one that I own, one that I like. And then VRSN is another one in the group. And this one, another one that could appear on our ready list. You can see it's been consolidating here in a flat base pattern. Above its 10, shown the ability to move. One of my criteria is the stock's got to show the ability to make big moves, which it did, 175 to 288. Now it's right there at that 288 after, consolidating in a flat base pattern. That looks pretty good to me. And the last one in this group I want to look at is Zscaler. Surfing the 10, doing nothing wrong, just flat in the session while the Nasdaq was down, just marking time. And I guess I'll look at Palo Alto. You got to look at Palo Alto. Uh, Pull back to the 10, looks fine. All right, I'm going to move on to another group here, and that is the retail group. I haven't been showing retail very much because retail it's been kind of rough. And with the tariffs, there's new tariffs announced today, and it's going to really mess with some companies. Nike, though, since their earnings report, traded above the 200, and now it's showing strength. And even with the tariffs announced today, Nike was still strong. So definitely don't ignore that type of strength. Nike looks pretty good. ODD, this is an Israel based company. Cosmetics, beauty products, this one's surfing. It's 10. It's finding support there. So that one looks pretty strong. Flat on the session while the Nasdaq was down. And then ELF got hammered today because it has, that exposure, right, to the tariffs. And they were announced today, and this thing was down even further, but it closed a little bit off its lows. I thought it was down like 12 bucks or something. What was it down today? Low is 120.82, so yeah, a buck and a half off the lows. No great shakes there. But yeah, this is what happens when you have tariff exposure and the president announces tariffs. I don't know, he said something about August 1st. I can't keep up with all that crap. But the CEO did say that they're going to pass on tariff costs to the consumers. So that's why this is, tariff sensitive. All right. That's it for the retail names. I do want to look at Lulu. My friend is trying to bottom fish Lulu. I don't do that, but I think he got it around 225. Yeah, and then tariffs hit, it's a Canadian company, down 4% today. I just don't want to mess with stuff like that. You wake up in the morning down 4 or 5%, it's hard to recover. All right, I'm going to move on to the financials. Some of the financials got hammered today. SoFi is not one of them. 1842 was the trigger here, and it definitely, consolidated around that area last week. Popped nearly 4% today. That one looks good. I did mention some of the other, larger banks today got hammered. Wells Fargo was down 1.5%. Goldman Sachs nearly 2%. JP Morgan. Yeah, those things all got hammered. But one that didn't was Charles Schwab. It's a financial name, just surfing the 10, finding support, looking fantastic. So yeah, it's hit and miss there on these financials. Couple more, smaller names that I'm more interested in, and this is financial services specialty stock, Virtu Financial, right there at the buy point, 44.58. Looks pretty darn good. And the other one is Dave. Dave's not here. This one looks good as well, well above its 10. So definitely a strong stock. What else do I have? Oh, the buy now, pay later stock. Sezzle, I think that one found support at the 10. Gee, Maniz, that thing was down to what? Marty, what was this thing down to this morning? That thing really pulled hard at the open. So if you don't own this thing, yeah, this thing was down to 165 and closed at 180. Nice $16 bounce there and closed with a hammer there, 100%. It closed at the very high of this session. That's another one that I do own. Mm, I wish I had more. Wow, that's a nice textbook, pull back to the 10 and bounce. And that's what you want to see in a bounce, 15 bucks. Thank you very much. Even though it's down for this session, that's a strong move. Robinhood, another financial name, just marking time here. It's had a big move, now consolidating, backing and filling, whatever you want to call it, digesting gains. It's going to need some time. Let that moving average catch up. It's still 5.1% above the 10. PAYS, pay sign. This thing's on a heater. I don't know what it does. I just know that it's making new highs. So any stock that's making new highs, not to be ignored. All right, I'm going to move on to a different type of tech here. These computer tech services, I guess software type of name. This is Porch making a new high, finding support at its moving averages. That one looks strong. TSSI. This one's in our the stocks that I post in the morning. This one's on it often. You can see the group is this top 20 group, strong group. TSSI up 3% today and now closed 5.3% above the 10. And so these strong stocks continue to find support at their moving averages there. And that's a nice move for that one. Okay, I did mention Dave, so I'm not going to mention Dave again. TOST consolidating in a base is another one. Might have had it on the ready list last week. I have it written down here for the buy point, but yeah, that one may appear soon as well. Anyway, all right, that's it for that group. And then the last is the construction group. Sterling, this one looks fantastic. You got to look at the weekly on these. Just making new highs. Quanta is another one in this group. Yeah, just flat in this session. That thing looked good after breaking out from that 3 weeks tight pattern. AGX, this is making this classic this pennant pattern here. It had this big move off the lows, and now it's making this little pennant pattern. So don't ignore these stocks just because they're pulling back to their moving averages and trading tight. That one could pop as well. And then WLDN, this is the WLDN group, thinly traded, but man, making new highs. Very strong name. You could see the big volume bars coming in here. So that's not Anselli buying that stock there. That one looks good. You could see the breakout and the move higher. All right, that's it for me. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up. Tomorrow's a new day, so you got to be prepared. You got to be ready. There's going to be some different type of stocks on our ready list tomorrow. I don't want to be caught into one type of group, which I looked at my list this morning. It was like too many stocks in the same type of area. So I think, we need a little more of a shotgun approach. I've got at least 50 names to choose from. I think I only posted like five or six, but there are some names that I do like in various names, like in the crypto space. Mara, this thing was down 5% today. Above the 200, pull back to the 200. We'll see if that one can find some support. TNX is another one that I was looking at. This one looks pretty decent. I mentioned TOST. NBIS is another one that I think I pulled back to the 21, down 5%. Glad I didn't put that one on. ASTS. That was flat in the session. Yeah, I'm just looking to see, it's got this little bull wedge type pattern. We can see if it finds support at the 10 here. Yeah, we'll see. But there's just a lot of them. Reddit's another one that I like, but it's kind of in that same group of, like tech stocks, which I kind of want to get away from. Yeah, Reddit looks fine. Somebody asked me about Reddit today. I said, it just looks like an inside day, but I had the weekly chart here, which is fine. Reddit looks fine. Just needs time to allow those moving averages to catch up. This is another one that I do hold. And as long as it's above the 10, I'm okay with it. Even if it, trades below the 10, I'm not happy about it, but I'll probably still hold it, maybe trim it a little bit. And the low from last week is definitely an area 146.55. Don't want to see it trading below that level. Anyway, I did say that was it. Except for in honor of the great Steve Jobs, I do have one more thing. And I have to mention, at the top, I mentioned that the top performing groups, and you don't want to ignore those groups. I mentioned the steel group, I mentioned the energy group. And in honor of the great Steve Jobs, we're going to stay hungry, we're going to stay foolish, and we're going to stay humble, and we're not going to, forget about the gold stocks. Yeah, I know a lot of people do not like gold stocks, and I don't think I put any of these on. 46.90, you just call it $47 would be a trigger point for AU. This is the top performing stock in this group, and you just got to look back to December 31st, 2024, and you can see how well these things have performed. WPM, AEM, these are up, 50, 60%. So they're having great years. And yeah, they might pull back, but this is HMY up 80%. So yeah, I don't want to ignore these. This one pulled back to the 50 for the first time since the breakout, actually undercut the trigger point. Found support though and bounced, and now it's above all of its moving averages, and it's above that 47 trigger point. Might be chasing there. It's 2.6% above the 10. I'd like a little closer to the 10, but yeah, don't ignore these gold stocks. This one's still consolidating in a cup with handle pattern. AEM, Agnico, Eagle Mines, big volume today. Yeah, not bad. Up 1.7%. This is Wheaton Precious Metals, another Canadian name. This one popped off the 21. This one looks extended, 2.7%. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to be chasing them up there, but definitely those are, some to watch. I did mention HMY, which is below the 50, so we don't like that. DRD is another one in this group. KGC, yeah, this one 1596 buy point, so 2.7% above the 10. Yeah, so these are starting after, weeks of consolidating, these are starting to look a little better. I just wanted to point that out. At mcstockcharts.com, we never give up. Thank you for watching.